Hey everyone, Wolflord Bro here. Before I begin today, a big thank you to Chris for the virtual gift voucher. Thank you very much for the support, my friend. I really appreciate it. But on to today. Today we are talking the Khan's journey to terror and chaos, facing the fury of the Kargan. Spoiler warning to begin, the events we are discussing today are from the Horus Heresy novels Scars and the Path of Heaven by Chris Wright. As always, I really recommend you read the story for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. Not only that, but we help to support the Great Games Workshop and Black Library, because without them, we don't have this amazing lore to talk about. I will put a link in the description as always. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now previously we have discussed the mental journey Jaghatai made in affirming his loyalty to the Imperium, the questions he needed answered. But getting those answers was only the beginning, and the real journey had begun, whether Jaghatai was ready for it or not. The Death Guard had come, Mortarion seeking an audience with his brother, seeking to sway him to the traitor cause. But unfortunately for the Death Lord, Jaghatai saw through Mortarion's words. He had thrown his lot in with the traitors, only to realise too late his mistake. The Khan had no interest in going down with him, and so the fight between the Death Guard and the White Scars begun. The Khan the faster, Mortarion the stronger. But despite the two inflicting heavy blows upon the other, neither of them fell, Mortarion retreating before a victor could be decided, taunting Jaghatai with the news that half of his own legion had declared for the War Master. Returning to his flagship, the Khan found it was in chaos. White Scar versus White Scar, Mortarion's words ringing in his mind. He had been telling the truth. And there upon the command bridge, the Khan saw Hasik, his Noyan Khan. It was he and his men of warrior lodges who had unleashed this madness, seeking to reunite the Kargan and the War Master. But as Jaghatai roared in anger at his Noyan Khan, foolishly, Hasik raised his sword in response. It was the last mistake he made. In the blink of an eye, Jaghatai disarmed his son, plunging his sword through Hasik's torso, the Terminator plate slicing like butter before the blade. Then, with a single hand, the Khan lifted him in the air, still dangling from the blade, so that they met face to face. The 5th Legion was the Ordu of Jaghatai. No one else made the same mistake. After dealing with the Death Guard, every trace of treachery within the White Scars was eradicated by the Khan in person himself. For the next following years, the White Scars acted out in the void, targeting the War Master's supply lines, enacting a brutal toll. But as the time passed, the casualties mounted. The Iron Warriors in particular unleashing a devastating ambush. The time to make a stand on the Throne World had come. Every road to terror was blocked, and as the Death Guard and Emperor's children cornered the Scars, salvation came in the sacrifice of one of the Kargan's most beloved sons, Targutai Yasugai, who through his sacrifice gave the Khan a chance to escape into the Webway. The continued loss of his sons almost too much for Jaghatai to bear, and he yearned to let out his fury on his brother Mortarion. "I have to face him," the Khan said quietly. "You do not," raged Ilya, her grief making her wild. "Lord, if you fight him, the chance will be gone," urged Arvida. "There will be other days." "Not for Targutai," roared the Khan, suddenly bursting into fury. "Not for Tsar. My warriors have died for me. This day and every day since my whoreson brother ignited this treachery. I have watched them die. Year by year. Their strength taken from them. No further. I will slay him, if I do nothing else. Ultimately, the Khan relents, but not before luring the pursuing fleets to attack the Swordstorm, his flagship. His rebellious sons acting as bait to lure the Lord of Death to allow the Kargan and the Legion to escape. Atonement for their foolish actions. The Khan watched the Swordstorm die from the bridge of the Lance of Heaven. Every wound the flagship took was like a strike to his own body. The Great Hull was reeling again now. Rocked by the flurry of beam weapons, they would break the last of the shields soon, retrieve their troops, resume the attack. The Magyar Mason would not last more than moments against his brother's dread entourage. Shame gnawed at him. Once again, his sons had died in his place. Once again, the battle had been interrupted before the end. And this time, it was him racing away from the epicenter. His fleet in retreat. The vengeful guns of the enemy trained on their over-burning thrusters. Your destiny is on Terra. They had all told him that. Yasugai, Ilya, the Sorcerer. The Stormseer's dreams, surely, had been of the final battle on the fields before the palace walls. And it would be there, if anywhere, that the culmination would come. But the cost. The cost. But, still, despite it all, there remained one hurdle for Jaghatai still to cross, and the horde of demons came for them within the Immaterium, pouring aboard the Lance of Heaven like a tide. And in the heat of this battle, as the Scars fight for their very survival against the demons, the Keeper of Secrets comes. The demon was immense, crashing to the deck and making the stones crack under its hooves. Thrice the height of the Primarch, it was an avatar of corruption, hurled into the world of senses. Storm lightning snapped across it, burning away in ribbons of steam as it recoiled from the unholy flesh. Hail, son of anathema, and its voice contained every foul and beautiful thing within it. The howl of an infant's terror, the cry of mortal ecstasy, the gasp of pain under the torturer's knife. You are far from home. The Khan looked up, taking in the full splendour and degradation. Bar my way, Yaksha, he said, keeping his sacred blade in guard, and I shall end you. The demon laughed, and the sound was like glass being scraped across bone. Attempt it, and your flayed soul shall sweeten the passage of eternity. And the fight is on. The demon sweeps in, lunging at the Khan, who blocks the multiple blows before returning in kind. All around them, the battle is raging. Demon versus Marine. But the Khan is oblivious, focused only on his foe, the greatest enemy the gods could place before him. And there's a fantastic line of the Primarch rising to a level of controlled fury that passed into the sublime. Every attack the greater demon tries, the Khan blocks and counters with his own, powering through its psychic scream. You cared much for the Storm Witch, I think, said the demon, pulling away from the Khan's furious assault. Do you wish me to show you his agony? The Primarch only pressed the attack further, driving his limbs ever harder, wielding the blade so fast now that it felt like reality would split. Flames kindled about both combatants, bursting into life as the weapons spun. The Khan could sense its limitation now. It had thrown everything at him, and still he lived. His warriors lived, and fought, and roared their defiance. The creature fed on fear, but there was nothing to feed on aboard the Lance of Heaven. The Khan shoved his energy-flaming sword clean through the demon's torso, ripping it out the far side before the demon's claws raked down across his breastplate. nearly tearing it from the flesh. Blood now joined the circles of fire, mortal red and demon violet. And this is where the Khan excels. As the demon rages, speaking in its foul tongue, the Khan remains silent. "You should never have dared this," the demon screamed again, hurling the Khan back a pace and dissolving the ground beneath his feet. It followed up with a brutal lunge with a clenched claw, catching him under the chin and forcing him back further. "This is our realm." The Khan struck back instantly, slamming the demon's sword aside and going for the creature's midriff. The blade thrust true, ripping another wound in the creature's flank. Where the Ichor shot through the blade's disruptor trails, it ignited, dousing both of them in rippling blood fire. "They are all our realms. You are a plague on them, a contagion to be excised." The creature's talons raked around, and the Khan bludgeoned them away. He dragged his blade across the demon's leading thigh, and muscle parted with a slick shiver. Then he swept back across the demon's ribcage, slicing it to the bone. The demon kicked out with its hoof, cracking it into the Khan's side and shattering armor plate. The Primarch went skidding, hurled out of position. The demon screamed its contempt again and hammered the flaming sword down. The killing edge seared through the tortured air, fizzing with serpentine magics. The Khan angled his blade to parry, and the two swords crashed together. A massive clang resounded. There was a blaze of light, and the Khan's tulwar shattered. The demon hurled a claw around, crunching the Primarch aside, and sending him clattering into the empty command throne. The Khan, now weaponless, is far from helpless, and immediately leaps back to his feet, diving upon the greater demon, clamping his hands around its neck, and as the demon staggers and falls, the Khan presses harder. Falling to the floor, the demon strikes at the Khan in his panic, sword and claw raking armour and puncturing muscle, but still the Khan does not relent. And now, it's the Khan's turn to talk. "There is nowhere left to hide," the Khan hissed, throttling the dregs of life out of the flailing demon. "We know you now. We shall hunt you in every plane of reality. We shall cleanse the void. Then we shall cleanse the warp." The demon spat its defiance, but the spittle was laced with ichor now, and its eyes had clouded. A shudder rippled through its ravaged frame, and the talons went limp. "So look on me now, Yaksha," said the Khan, "and know your slayer." The demon dragged up a final, strangled breath, gazing up at Jaghatai with both loathing and horror. Then the Primarch released his grip, and seized the demon's own sword from its slackening grip. Taking its flaming hilt in both hands, he twisted round, pulled it back, then plunged it into the demon's chest. It screamed, impaled on the burning blade. The Khan hauled the sword back out, then thrust his gauntlet deep into the gaping wound. "For the Emperor," he cried, ripping the demon's heart from between its ribs and brandishing it high above his head. Ichor as thick and dark as oil ran down his arm, steaming as it came. Across the bridge, the White Scars heard their master's cry of triumph, as did the demons. Now that was epic. The Khan, with his bare hands, just throttled the life out of a greater demon, and then proceeded to rip out his heart. And then that cry, "For the Emperor." Jaghatai's loyalty is its own reward moment. Two sons whose loyalty questioned, one by history, the other by his own brothers and father, but both declaring their loyalty in emphatic fashion. The Khan has given everything and lost more. His flagship, his friend, his sons. But still, he remains defiant. He remains dedicated to the people of the Imperium. In the years to come, the people will know the names Sanguinius, Roboute Guilliman, Rogal Dorn. But how many know the name Jaghatai? How many know the sacrifices he made just to be at Terra? to stand atop the walls of the palace, in defense of the Emperor and in defense of the people. Man, I've got to tell you, I have enjoyed Jaghatai Khan Week, but we're not done yet. As always guys, what did you think of it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.